Hey everyone, it's your girl Maddie here, aka Beavermosh, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by the executioner of Undulation, who put out an album, an EP last year, An Unhealthy Interest in Suffering. And the executioner, thank you so much for joining me today. How are we doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. I woke up early and, went thrifting, so that was fun. And now I'm here.
Any good finds?
Yeah, actually, I found this like DJ split. I think it's of the It Takes Two song, so it's just like the promo copy for it. So that
Oh
was
hell
pretty,
yeah,
yeah.
sick. Well, let's get into the music because I was interested in talking to you because I remember last year I was just browsing Twitter and a tweet of yours came up on my feed and you were kind of posting this EP that you had released and it kind of blew up. I mean, people loved it. I listened to it. I thought it was great and it's something that I don't see happen often. I don't see something like organically just get pushed on the internet and have it shared and it have it kind of become a thing. How do you think you were able to do that? How do you think that happened?
Um, I think a lot of it does have to do with all of the band members coming from such different musical scenes.
Hmm.
Uh, like I was a rapper and I don't really know how much of my audience was a crossover from that because a lot of them just like don't listen to metal and that's totally cool. Like my best friend, she's so supportive, but she hates it. And it's a very odd couple. And my drummer, he's in a few different bands, mostly comes from like a grindcore power violence kind of background. And then our other guitarist is in a black metal band, Isthemy. So it's just like maybe it was sort of like a
Yeah.
built-in audience kind of thing, but also to see it blow up on the internet was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you say you do hip hop and I'm wondering, how do you see a crossover between the fan bases of metal music and hip hop at all? I mean, for me personally, I love like the 90s hip hop. I love NWA. I love A Tribe Called Quest. I love that stuff. But do you see those two fan bases kind of crossing paths at all?
Every once in a while, I want to give a big shout out to Big Sluggathor, who, does both. Like
Mm.
he's in a death metal band and he is a rapper. So we, have a lot in common. But as far as a crossover, I think that it's kind of that same divide where it's like half are open to a lot of it and the other half are still like country and rap equals crap.
Yeah, no, yeah, fuck. I remember that mentality being a thing in like the early 2000s when I was like just discovering the internet and I'm like that is such a weird take, just kind of blanket statement entire genres like that. Like are
Exactly.
is there bad country? Is there bad rap? Of course, but there's also plenty of bad metal music. Have you seen what gets put on like the Warped Tour circuits? Like there is bad in everything.
I do also think that it does have an underlying sense of like racism and microaggressions.
Of
It's
course.
like a lot of people, the way that they talk about it, it's very reminiscent of like the whole like disco sucks era and trying to just like, again, blanket like this entire genre of being like ignorant or as if it
Mhm.
can't be art itself.
I yes, and I if you like watch one of the documentaries on like the disco demolition from like the disco sucks, like people were bringing records to that had nothing to do with disco. Like they were bringing like Marvin Gaye records and stuff that were just like just because it wasn't a white artist. That's why they brought it to the disco demolition.
They were
And
like,
it's
we
like
hate black people.
yeah, well, that's fucked. And I guess do you still how much of that attitude do you still see on the internet? Has it changed in like the past 15 years or is it
I- that's a funny question because it's something I think about a lot.
yeah,
On the internet, they're just complete troglodytes. And I think that there's always going to be that. I feel like they feel safest on the internet.
of course.
in person, if I'm honest with you, like shows that I've played, everyone's really nice and super pleasant. A lot of people are very like kind of protective of me, which is like it makes me feel safe in that environment. And these people are in their basements on the internet and don't actually go to shows or, have any sort of positive contribution to the metal community. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Like I was like on this weird borderline where for whatever reason there were some edgelords that really fucked with me. And I was like, okay, like I don't like what you're putting on my timeline. It's
Yeah.
just like, why are you here? I'm not the one. Like,
Yeah. The edgelords love my comment section too, so I know exactly the type of person you're talking about. They are keyboard warriors.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, you mentioned recently that you have your debut kind of full length coming out on I Void Hanger, which is a label that I am very fond of. Uh, they have great taste in what they put out. So seeing you get put on that record out on that label, that must feel good. But also, I want to know, like, can you give us a preview of that record? Do we have like a set type kind of timeline when we might see a release or anything of that nature?
Oh, I wish that we did have one. We had a period of about 6 months, honestly, where we were looking for a new guitarist and kind of just scrambling to uh get that cohesiveness back that we had. We had a lot of synergy as a band, and when our old
Yeah.
guitarist left, we were like, okay, we need to bring in somebody who like we can really connect with. And now that we're doing that, the music's coming pretty quickly. But I think we have like 3 or 4 songs kind of completed for the new record. But again, it's like we want it to be special. We really do. And we're not trying to put a time constraint on that. And Luciano's been really cool
Yeah.
about release time. He hasn't put any sort of deadline or put any sort of stress or pressure on us.
Yeah, and I'm curious, how did the connection with Luciano happen? Did they reach out to you, or was it kind of the opposite? What was that communication like?
Well, our old guitarist actually just I guess, reached out to him and was like, "Hey, we're big fans of the label. Here's our demo. Hope you like it." And a few months later, he reached out to us and he was essentially just like, "I'm so sorry that I didn't see this email sooner." He's like, "I really love this record." He's like, "I would like to release it on CD and do some PR for y'all. And when you release your debut, I want to put it on colored vinyl." And it was very cut and dry, honestly. Like he is just such a kind and amazing person.
Hmm.
I've been humbled by the experience, and I was just like, "Is this how it works?"
Yeah, yeah. I've talked with other artists from I Void Hanger and other labels that are kind of have a similar approach to them, and that does seem to be what it is. Like bands just kind of emailing other labels and surprised when they get a response. They're like, "Yeah, we love your record. This is how it happened. So let's put it out."
Mhm.
It's always cool to hear when that happens. I think it's cool to like for other bands that are kind of figuring out how to do it. It's good to kind of get that message out consistently. Just reach out to people. You never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
try to hammer that home to any of my friends who are trying to get into the genre. It's just get yourself out there. And by that, I just mean literally, it's like send these emails. But it's interesting. I feel like you don't have to promote yourself in the same way that you do in hip hop or even just other genres. It's like you'll get a response back, or people who you don't know will give you feedback, and it's like
Yeah.
you really don't know how they found you. I was just like, did you really go and look on Bandcamp to find a new artist to listen
Hmm.
to? That's insane. Like,
Well, okay, so that's an interesting kind of question there because since you have experience with marketing in both worlds, how well, first of all, how do the fan base of hip hop and metal, how do they consume music the same and differently? Is there a different way you have to approach the two audiences?
I think that a lot of the hip hop shows that I played, it definitely was more of like a in more like a queer independent scene.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of it was just being able to make these events and come together as a community in a different way, if that makes sense. It was just
Mhm.
like, very, very community based, like very much involved in each other's lives. Like we all knew each other. Um, and as far as marketing, if I'm honest with you, when I was rapping, I didn't market myself either. I didn't have merch.
Yeah.
Uh, it was really silly, but I was by myself. I didn't know what I was doing really. So I kind of just relied on my friends. I kind of relied on the city, just keeping up with what I was doing. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It feels like there's not a huge difference because there are more people involved with it. Like each member of the band has a special quality that they can help contribute, and it's like a Voltron. So it's great.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And another thing I'm curious in terms of like getting music out there is that you're in the Pacific Northwest, which has a massive metal scene. Like there are so many black and death metal bands coming from that part of the states, and I'm like wondering what is it like playing black metal in a fertile scene? Do you find it tougher because there are so many kind of other bands you're competing with, or is it kind of make it easier because there's so many people going to shows over there?
Um, that's a really interesting question. I feel like part of why I love being in this band and part of why it's cool for me to play is I'm not, and I don't mean this in like a conceited way. I just like I'm not competing with anyone,
Hmm.
and it's in a way because I'm like, I'm the only one out here. Like, it's a very specific band. I think that we can be on a lot of bills. We can be on black metal bills. We can be on death metal bills. We've even like played a few hardcore shows,
I can see that.
and and I don't know, it's just not something I'm worried about. I feel like we definitely fit into our own pocket as far as sound goes. A lot of like the Cascadian black metal bands, are very like solidified and sort of like I don't know, they're super like almost deified like bands are amazing here. We've got like Wolves in the Throne Room, we've
Of
got
course.
Bellwitch, and then some of my closest, like my biggest inspirations are like Thor's Hammer with two R's and Bell no, Burning Witch. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And you also have like death metal bands like Ascended Dead out there. And it's like, um,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Don't even get me started on Portland. Like
like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to like open up a rift there if there is one between the two cities.
no,
But
I know, like like it's so amazing. Every
yeah,
time I go down there, anytime I'm like, oh, there's a show at Dante's, I know I'm about to, this is about to be
yeah,
a ripper.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Ripper. Yeah. Uh, and you say you fit on both bills, black and death metal. What? How would you, I guess, describe your sound if you are able to fit on both bills? Like, do you consider yourself like a black and death metal band, or what strain of black metal would you call yourself?
Oh, yeah, I always think about this in a way that I'm like, I wish that I could explain our genre to someone without sounding like a complete fucking asshole. Because I feel like there's so many different elements of it, and I don't want to be like, we're a melodic, blackened, uh, avant-garde, technical death metal band.
So I'll tell you this. This show is not marketed to, and I would guess that the majority of my audience are not like metal newcomers, right? Like you're talking to like people who know the term. So you wouldn't sound like an asshole if you kind of go off and just like be super specific.
That's very real, but then I always
Yeah.
think about, the gatekeepers, and also as soon as I hear melodic, they just walk away.
Sure, okay, that's fair. That's fair. But do you have like a general sense of would you just call yourself a black metal band?
I think that we're more solidly a black and death metal band at
That
at
makes
this
sense.
point, at this point in our writing for our debut as well. There's
Yeah.
definitely a lot more elements of there's a lot more gutturals just in general, but there are also a lot more singing parts, so I would even put a little bit of gothic in there.
Ooh, ooh, that sounds exciting. Um, well, your your debut EP was called An Unhealthy Interest in Suffering. And I'm curious about that because I think there's a lot of connotations there, kind of depending on how you read that unhealthy interest in suffering. And I'm curious, like, what does that mean to you exactly? Who are you referring to? Who has this interest in suffering?
Um, Everyone.
Okay.
I feel like internally, it's like we suffer, you suffer, they suffer, but it really is, there's so many incidences in which we can feel our own suffering. There are instances where we enjoy the suffering of others without really realizing it or thinking about it. Like an example I think about is how much traffic slows down when there's a car crash because everyone's looking, you
Hmm.
know, um, just a love for violence and I like I love horror movies. I love like horror video games and I do like to think about I'm like why am I having so much fun like but it actually came from doing some research on the French Grand Guignol, just like the horror theater.
Sure.
And a lot of people would go to these theaters just to be shocked. It's like, what is the why is it that shock and disgust is something that is inherently human, you know? So, and sometimes I do think we're a little obsessed with it, especially also like true crime. The true crime community is
Hmm.
I do think, and it's very dystopian in the way that it's usually like a young woman doing her makeup, while talking about these like horrific murders. And I'm just like, the cognitive dissonance that takes, you know?
I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day. People seem to have an interest in studying and learning about serial killers.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm not interested in myself. I think it's interesting to like just see like the psychology of it. Like, why does this happen? But like, we're in a weird way, we are entertained by that, and if you really think about it, that's disturbing that we're entertained by that.
Yeah. Like so many people, I feel like a lot of people are afraid of themselves in the way that they don't want to admit it, but it's like really like you're gonna sit here and listen to these podcasts and these videos and all of these things, but there isn't a form of entertainment for you. You're strictly reading it for the articles, Like
Yeah,
I consume some true crime as well, and I do try to stay aware of that.
yeah.
And it is every once in a while the cognitive dissonance just like rocks me.
And part of it's okay, I think, to like channel it into like putting it somewhere instead of like acting out on it. Right? Like, I think that's kind of a way a lot of people enjoy death metal. Or you mentioned video games. I was playing Red Dead Redemption last night and robbing a train. And like had so much fun doing it. But like that's not great. But like we do it. We engage in these things, and it's just fascinating as why as humans we do that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's such an inherent part of us that there are so many different outcomes, like the way that we engage in violence. Like
Yeah,
there are, it's like the two pathways where it's like, oh, either you're gonna burn down a church and kill your friend, or you're going to be a family man and or you're really good at claw machines. Like it
yeah,
really just depends on who you are internally. Like you can sing about like horrible, violent, gory things, but you can also just like be a decent human being.
yeah, yeah. That's I think that is a question that I think metalheads think about a lot. Or at least they should think about it if they're not thinking about it.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think it applies to all things uh in relation to consumption, but I think that metal, because it's something that affects our lives so much or that we're so engulfed in. Like it's, I think that like metal and wrestling and antiques are probably the things that I engage in most, and even those I try to be critical of.
I uh I went to a I was invited by a friend to a wrestling match for the first time not too long ago. I had known nothing about it. And I wouldn't call myself like a fan because I've been to one wrestling match, but like I understood the appeal. Like it's so animated, it's so out there, and it's so vividly violent. Like you just sense it. You see it. You like there is on people pulling out razor blades and you know it's fake, but it's still like there's a thrill and just like this display of just gruesomeness put out in front of you.
I think that a common misconception about wrestling is that it's fake. You know, it's
Yeah.
like these people are like people die from this all the time, which is
Hmm.
uh it's something to think about. These people are, there's like, a famous video of this guy, and he's like, "You're risking your bodies. It's still real to me, damn it." And it's like, yeah, these people really are sacrificing their bodies to do this. People get injured very severely all the time. All of
Hmm.
the razor blades, all of the blood, it's very real. I think that they misinterpret any sort of choreography or like the promos and stuff, that it's more, it's a little bit more like theater. It's sort of in the manner of Le Grand Guignol, perhaps.
Well, yeah, I mean you're talking to someone who doesn't know wrestling, so but that is fascinating. Like it's in what way would you how so then what is the divide, right? Like what is fake about it? What is real about it? Why how what kind of explain that to me. Can you unpack that for me?
Hmm. I think that somebody who watches wrestling casually, it's one of those things where there are very involved storylines. I think
Hmm.
that it's very much, people have compared it to like a soap opera in a lot of ways. Once you get involved in those storylines, you can see how all of the matches fit into them. They have different things that, are common when they are putting together matches. Like they'll have a contract signing, or you'll see who turns heel, who turns face, and it makes you want to keep up with it. But
Sure.
when you're seeing the matches, it's like, there isn't really a way to fake, like, giving someone a pile driver, the thing that's fake is just doing it in the safest way possible, and also making it look as violent and dangerous as possible with doing the least amount of harm. But it's like,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So like there is contact. There is these
There's so
people are engaged with each other. Yes. Okay.
I mean, like, there's somebody I think about this wrestler, Nick Gage, when he was doing more stuff on the indies. There was a light tube spot, and it literally impaled him, and they had to airlift him, and he almost died in the helicopter. Like, it was pretty severe.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that is graphic. That is horrific. Was he okay?
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay.
And then he robbed a bank.
That's cool. That's cool. Do we like that? That's cool.
Well, now.
Yeah. uh well, let's get back to black metal. Or what what was your introduction to the genre? Like how did you get into this?
Ooh, okay. So, I would say that I got fully into metal when I was about 15.
Okay.
Um,
Probably
I
about
kind of,
same.
yeah, it was kind of when I had already gone through, the gauntlet of like, oh, like new metal, and like here's like it's almost like the metal iceberg, and when I started listening to, I actually kind of got into power metal and black metal at the same time, which is funny. Um,
That's
I
not that uncommon, but yeah, you're yeah, I that is there is like a stark contrast there. Like, whoa, that's how did this happen?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of it is like because I got my start like singing, I had a lot of appreciation for like the vocals of power metal, especially
Yeah.
like Rhapsody and Blind Guardian, just a huge fan. But as far as black metal goes, I think that I maybe got into like second or third wave first. Trying to think. Like I think I kind of got into like Dark Throne, Celtic Frost, um, like oh, Emperor was probably my
Of course.
yeah. I'm like I think that Emperor was maybe my intro to black metal when I think about it. And then it was kind of just like the tree that branched off from there. But when I heard In the Night Side Eclipse, it like kind of changed my life, which sounds weird. It doesn't actually, it doesn't, like considering who we're talking to and
Yeah.
like, but I remember when I was 15 or 16, I was in the Running Start program and I met a friend of mine who was like in a black metal band and he was like 16. I look back on it and I'm like, oh, that was so cute, and like I definitely just like helped get my taste in music from them. Just this was this band called Irony, and it's actually kind of crazy. When we played Northwest Terror Fest, I was in the green room and I hear this "Hey stranger," and I turn around and it is this guy that I've known since I was 15 years old. I didn't realize he plays an Oxygen Destroyer now. He was my first like best guitarist I've ever met, so.
I did not realize that you were at Northwest Terror Fest, but that's crazy because you shared a stage with some crazy bands. Like, what was what was that like? Just to realize that, yeah, you are on the same stage as bands as like Eternal Champion and Summerlands and Crypt Sermon, Undergang. What the fuck?
It's a month later and it still feels so surreal. Like as a band, our main goal really was just we're like, okay, we want to play Terror Fest. And we kind of didn't really think past that. And now we're just like, oh shit, what now?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was amazing and surreal. I just had a wonderful time. It still feels so weird. And then I think about, I got like obsessive about it, and I was like, who played our time slot on this stage, years ago, and it was just like,
Yeah.
wow, Thenifax, like Mortiferum, these bands that are just like huge
Yeah.
now, and I'm like, I hope that that trajectory means I hear something.
Did you? Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is no small feat getting on that stage. So I'm so happy for you. But I'm curious, like, did being able to play that, did you get to meet a lot of bands? Were you able to like kind of exchange contact with bands that are maybe bigger than you were at the time?
To be honest, not necessarily.
Interesting.
Like,
Okay.
um, I guess I'm kind of just shy when it comes to that kind of thing, so I really just like clung to my bandmates like glue.
Sure.
But I'm also like longtime friends with Ethan from Primitive Man.
Yeah.
So, we just like spent a lot of time together before he had to leave for Eugene. Um, so yeah, that was kind of cool. I again mostly just kept to myself and also just had a lot of bands I wanted to see, and I kind of just did that on my own.
Who were the highlights?
Ascended Dead was
Of course.
incredible. There were a lot of bands from Mexico that played on our like Barboza set that day, so Habak was amazing. Um, I actually, what's sad is I had to leave before Undergang because I was
Oh,
wearing these I was wearing these boots the entire weekend
yeah.
and I got what I believe they call a Disney rash, which is like because of the heat of your feet in
Yeah.
something like that. Like I had the most horrid, painful rash to the point where I had to just like take my shoes off and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what to do. So it was horrible.
That's tragic.
Yeah,
God.
that's like the only bad part of Terrorfest. Like,
Well, you also mentioned something just a minute ago that piqued my interest. You talked about this ladder. You say you started with new metal. Did you skip like rungs? You went from new metal to black and power metal, or what is the ladder? Can we just talk? Can we build this ladder so you at the top you have like your Slipknot, you have your corns.
yes, let's do
So they're
it.
like, what is what's the next level down? Are we taking like Metallica's? Iron Maidens, yeah, your big bands like that.
Um, so my origin story is very specific, and I remember all of the details of it,
Yeah.
uh, because it was such a life-changing moment. I was in a an honors math class,
Yeah.
and it was seventh and eighth graders. I was in seventh grade. I sat next to an eighth grader named Basha Bohannon,
Okay.
and she had blue hair, and she hated her parents, and she was so cool. And she was like, "Hey, I want to burn you this CD." And it was Mudvayne's LD50. And so I popped that into my little CD player, and it changed my life. I really wasn't necessarily like, I didn't have a huge, I wasn't really into, I don't want to say I wasn't into music, but I didn't really have any particular genres that I was super into at the point that I was listening to that. And I was like, I didn't know that music could sound like this.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Like it was so fun. I think I definitely had a period of like, Cradle of Filth, Nightwish.
Yeah.
Um, I got hun- I got into folk metal for a while, just because I really liked the instrumentation. I thought I was like, whoa, hurdy-gurdy, like, um, but then I definitely grew out of that a little bit, and I went to a few too many pagan fests at this place called Studio 7, and I was like, there are too many swastikas here. So
I was gonna say
um,
that's a yeah, that was my first thing when you said like, oh, okay.
I had to peace out real quick. um, yeah, when it came to black metal, I'm trying to think. What's funny is I liked black metal a bit more than I liked death metal uh initially, and it
Yeah.
definitely was kind of, I feel like at this point it's kind of 50-50. But when I got really into death for a minute, but the first death album I listened to was Sound of Perseverance. So it's
That is
kind
a
of weird.
unique one to start with.
Yeah, I just went backwards. I think a
Yeah.
lot of it is my trajectory. Like, I wasn't really hanging out with that many metalheads until later in life, so I kind of just like picked around. I didn't really know how I was going to find these things or where. I'm
Yeah.
old, so I did go on the 4chan music board a lot, and that's where I found a lot of my, uh, a lot of what I listened to.
I don't look fondly on 4chan now, but I when I was like 18, I also discovered MU, and yeah, I remember the charts, like the black metal flow charts, or your like essential death metal records, and I definitely learned a lot from those as well. So
It was awesome. Like, Last
well,
FM really mattered.
yes. Oh my God, the scrobbling. I mean, I'm sure people still do it now, but I would make those 6x6 charts.
Yes.
Rate my taste, and MU would just like roast you, but then you go through
Well,
the ringer, and they made your taste.
I think about the memes from there, honestly.
Yeah. Uh, I did not think I would have a an MU chat with someone on this show ever, but yeah, no, I'm guilty of that too. I definitely learned a lot. I gotta ask you because you said you went to a lot of pagan fest and you saw a lot of swastikas and you got out. But then you got into black metal, and we're not going to pretend that like black metal is innocent of that at all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's part of why you know, I essentially feel like I'm a neckbeard in a sexy body, so a lot of
yeah,
my listening was like in a, like basement dwelling kind of. None of my friends listen to this. I hate myself. I cut myself. Like, it
yeah,
was really um it was really special. It was my own private Idaho, and a lot of that kind of thing I essentially avoided because I was scared. I was
yeah,
scared to be in some of those situations, but I honestly built a really great community of people,
yeah,
and as time has gone on, I definitely like have built a community of people that I do genuinely feel safe around. I feel
sure.
like a lot of this shit is like, do not show your fucking face here. I have a 300-pound bassist. Fuck you. Like,
Yeah, I I think that that is a great point. I do find, especially being trans in metal, like there are plenty of shitheads, but I think the good people outweigh the shitheads, and they may be loud online, but they're too scared to like be shitheads in public at shows because they know they're outnumbered, and I don't know, I find solace in that.
Definitely. I
Yeah,
also, again, and it comes back to the basement dweller incel thing. I'm just like, what's the last show you went to? Like, do you have an in-person community in any way, or are you just like, and that's not to say like sometimes I feel like black metal is best for me when I'm alone. I do go to shows, but when I go to a lot of shows, and when I'm there, I don't know if it's because I'm old now, but I just, I'm the guy in the back with my arms crossed.
yeah.
I do enjoy it a lot, but it kind of doesn't look like I'm having a good time. So I really like to be by myself, or like, go on a walk in the woods, just like, the whole 9 yards, you know.
I do think black metal. I do think that is the draw to me too, as somebody who's a little more introverted who doesn't like. I do go to shows, but like I don't go to as many shows because they are very, very stimulating to me. But like black metal tends to be okay with you just kind of being stoic there, and that's okay. And also, I think the scene, is very into like tape collecting, and you put these bedroom projects out, and there is this kind of it almost appeals to the idea of introversion that I think I'm personally drawn to, and I think other people are drawn to as well.
Yeah, I also feel like I feel more comfortable um like I don't know, just being like I dress like a vampiric asshole, and I like dressing that way at shows, and it's fun. Like I love going to a show and seeing people in corpse paint. I love seeing people
Yeah.
with their bullet belts. Like it's like very comforting.
Yeah. You know, yeah, I was just at Maryland Death Fest, a couple weeks ago, and it was like, holy shit, I'm out of my normie job and I'm here, and everyone is just like, I feel like I'm with my people. Like everyone is like, they get it. They know why I like this stuff. It's like I don't have to like I could just kind of let loose here and just kind of like not have to like hide anything. I can just kind of be myself, and it's kind of a magical experience when you go to like see live metal shows and have that experience with your community.
Yeah, it really brings, honestly, I feel like metal and wrestling have a lot in common. And it's when it's just like when you find a fellow metalhead, it's just like the what is it, the soy face. You're just like, oh, like
Oh.
so, so exciting, you
Nice
know.
shirt, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Or in my case, I like your shirt. Like, what'd you say? I like your shirt.
Ah, well, another cool thing for your band is you were mentioned in which by Brooklyn Vegan as one of the metal bands to watch for in 2024, which Brooklyn Vegan is not a small blog. What was your reaction to seeing yourself mentioned in that?
That was it was super cool.
Yeah.
But if I'm honest, I saw who recommended me, and I realized my friend Pierce from Soul Glow, I
Mm-hmm.
think wrote the blurb, and he has just been like the most supportive person in during this entire journey.
Yeah.
He's amazing. Like when they came to Seattle recently, he was just like, "Yo, like check out this band Undulation." Like it was just great. Like I feel like getting any sort of cosign from him has been so humbling.
Sick, sick. Yeah. Well, Had have you noticed an uptick in people checking out your band? Have you seen like your numbers on Bandcamp and Spotify go up since that? I mean, have people checked you out since that article has come out?
We actually just we just got all of our DistroKid stuff together. So I think we had our Bandcamp, our Spotify for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
The fact that we have more than like one listener is super awesome. I'm not really sure where we're at right now.
Yeah,
I don't really think that like our numbers are going up or anything. Like I'll check the Bandcamp every once in a while, but it's like we're not super active there just because we've really just had our noses to the grindstone.
sure. Okay. That's totally fair. Um, I see. like on Twitter your live photos, your live videos. You're constantly posting that, and I'm curious, like, what do you love most about getting to perform heavy music live, and what typically is the audience response to seeing your band?
Um, it is just so fun. I'm just having fun,
Fun.
and uh it's all kinds of fun. It's like if it's a healing kind of fun, it's an angry kind of fun. It's like it's just performing and being able to be almost this character on stage with these people who get it
Yeah.
is amazing. It's like I get to wear a gauntlet. That's fucking awesome. You know? My bandmates, like the synergy that we have is just incredible, and I like people to be able to see it. I like the fact that, again, I'm like, not to toot our own horn, but beep beep, we're impressive, like we are usually the weirdos on the genre. We want to be the band that's like unforgettable. We want to be the
Yeah.
band that people are like, yo, what the fuck was that band with the dude with the fucking gauntlet? Like
Yeah.
It's just fun, I do silly little dances and all of these things. I like to bring in elements from just who I am
Yeah.
into something that I love, and I think it kind of makes people think about it. They're like, it kind of makes them think about what the genre can be. It can still be super heavy, but you can look at a front person and be like, wow, this is a silly motherfucker.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you are like, yeah, this is how I want to perform. I don't need to like emulate or be like every other black metal vocalist. There isn't like a recipe for how you're supposed to like conduct yourself on stage. You can just kind of bring your own persona into it.
Yeah, it's so
So,
fun.
besides a new record, give us give us something. Where do you think the band is going? What can listeners expect within the next year? And if you can't answer that, if you don't have those specifics, I'm wondering, what are the band's goals within the next handful of years? Do you have a spot where you can say, yes, we did it. This is a satisfying spot to take the band. This is where I wanted Undulation to get to. Do you have any ideas of that?
Um, yeah, I do always talk about um with my bandmates like the best case scenario kind of thing. And I think it's kind of just a trajectory that most bands want. It's like, well, we've played Terrorfest. It would be really awesome to play Maryland Deathfest.
Hmm.
Uh, it would be great to um honestly, like our the way that our schedule allows, it would kind of have to be like a tour where maybe we're supporting a bigger artist, like just an East Coast or a West Coast run. Uh we've got two blue collar dudes in the band who their schedules just like don't allow for them to uh tour really, like unless it's
Yeah.
something we can. I'm not saying like I want to be on a tour that makes a bunch of money, but it would be great if we could like break even.
Yeah. I I don't think there's anything wrong with like saying we want to make a little bit of money off this. We don't want to like go into debt, playing metal. Like we want to be able to at least like make it somewhat sustainable. I think that's totally understandable. So
Yeah, because it's at a point too where it's like we're not making money off of this, and it's okay. I
yeah.
feel like if you go into the mindset of being like, I want to be a metal band that makes a bunch of money, I'm like, oh no, honey. It's just it's like we really are doing this because we love it. We love what we're
Yeah.
doing. And if other people love what we're doing, like we do have the potential
Yeah.
to be at that place. It's not an impossibility, which is awesome.
Okay. I was debating whether or not I wanted to ask you this, but I think it's too fun and too interesting not to. Can we talk about liturgy? uh,
No.
what the fuck is all I have to, is what I have to ask you? Like, because you were very vocal about it. Like, I don't know, like, what is going on? Like, why do you think that? Where is this coming from? Do you have any
Um,
theories?
yeah, and I'm trying to like sum it up in like the best and most concise way possible if I can think about it. And I
Yeah.
guess that bitch crazy. That fucking crazy. And there is no fucking way. It is such a weird situation.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like, she was like on the verge of, well, it's funny because when I think about the music board, I remember when her first album dropped and everyone was just like shitting their pants over it. And I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I do understand, um, I understand where she is influential to people, but I wish that she wasn't because of the way that she thinks. Like I think about like I see some of her tweets and it's
Yeah.
like, she's very much like, oh, like this person, um, this like very much like Eurocentric idea of what art should be, the age of an artist, um, all of these things that are completely accessible to her because she is directly tied to some of the oldest money in the country. And I was like, am I gonna like disappear? Um, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. She is influential to some people that I respect, and I don't want to take that away from people if that if like Aesthetica meant something to you. I happen to enjoy that album. I never really got into anything Liturgy did afterwards, but like if that record holds a special place for you, I mean, that's great. Um, but where she is now, you're right. Like it's just like thinking that she tweeted so recently is like there's no way that somebody without so- her background, her comforts could be thinking about, right? Like there's that just it was so unrelatable and just pseudo intellectual and honestly just kind of colonialist how she was uh her takes on religion were just so off kilter and
Like
honestly annoying.
I feel like it's like I don't want to keep tabs on her, but I feel like she's very close to territory that is like not savory. Seeing some of the people that enjoy her music um worries me a little bit sometimes,
Mhm.
like, but it's hard because it's like for whatever reason, it's like, okay, she does have a community in which like I know a lot of non-metalheads that really like her,
Mhm.
especially because like she's a visible trans woman in
Yeah.
this genre. And I do think that's extremely important, but I wish that she would also make better music.
I think that's totally I think that's totally fair and uh yeah, I mean I'm not like I said I don't want to get too shit talky, like I don't want to like, especially like I have no problem with people being into her music. I understand when people might like it, but like, god damn, did those tweets rub me the wrong way? Especially someone who like came from a strict evangelical background, and kind of escaped from that. I don't think she knew what she was talking about. I don't think she understands kind of like the dangers of organized religion and kind of why people maybe find a solace in this genre who maybe like came from that background. And I don't know, I did not like having that try to be like I almost felt like she was trying to gaslight me in a way, like my like criticisms or my experiences didn't happen, that's what I took from it. I think other
Yeah.
people felt the same way.
And it's hard for me to talk to somebody or to see someone's tweets who like it's something I think about a lot is that enslaved people essentially Christianity was forced upon them. And it's
Yeah.
something that, it's like it's it's okay not to be Christian, you know.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, it's like hearing that from someone who again comes from such old money where it's like I can't imagine how many enslaved people your ancestors had, and you are saying that like that it's the only way, it's the truth. And I think it's another thing where it's like she doesn't know what she's talking about, but she thinks she knows what she's talking. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but she thinks she know what she's talking about.
Well, I think I tried kind of deciphering what she was talking about with Christianity, and she seems to have like a more academic understanding of Christianity than like, your average Protestant evangelical, which is okay, sure. But you can't claim that like because she tried to also try to say like, well, the Christianity that I'm selling is different than those Christians, and I'm like, I'm sure it is, but also the average person doesn't care, and I'm like to them like you're just kind of you are still coming across as like defending, the Ron DeSantis's of the world, that type of, I don't have the luxury, I don't have the comforts you have to try to differentiate the two, I think a lot of people don't.
I don't have the comfort or the time to write an entire like huge essay dissertation or whatever because girl I ain't reading all that
No.
like
Uh, well, I do always like to ask fans that I have on the show, what are you listening to right now? Have there been any records this year specifically that have like been like on your rotation, like that you cannot get enough of?
oh oh my goodness that's such a good question. um I think right now, I mean, it's been getting a lot of hype, but I think it's deserved. Maze Envy, Severus, like,
It's
it's
so
so
good.
good.
I had
Yeah,
them on the show too. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that record.
sick. Um, like honestly, oh, the new one of my faves for real is the newest Septage. I really like that new album.
I don't know
It
if I listened to that one.
It has a fun, long medical name, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it's so wonderful. It sounds so disgusting. I highly recommend it.
Cool. Septage and Severus. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Go check out those records. Well, I don't have any more questions pressing on my mind, but always before I let someone go, I want to give the floor to you for any plugs, any last words, tell people where they can find you, give them all the things.
Okay. Well, we are on Instagram, just underscore undulation underscore. We're on Bandcamp, undulation death, .bandcamp.com. Uh, yeah, we're working on a new record. It
Hell
is
yeah.
called necrogamy, which is like the act of uh, either marrying the dead as a living person, marrying two dead people together, or ghost marriage is what it's called. And the only thing else that I have to say is fucking free Palestine.
Fucking free Palestine.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
yeah, no. For everyone watching at home, thank you to the executioner for joining me. As always, thank you to my patrons. You are the best. Thank you for watching. Keep it metal. My name is Maddie, aka Beaver Mosh. Signing off.